Yeah, you scored for 40,000, but the following month you played in EPT. Is that what you bankrolled yourself into the EPT with?
No, the EPT was a funny one actually. I was playing on PokerStars, so this the following month, yeah. So as soon as I got the 40,000 score, I withdrew a little bit from Full Tilt and put a bit on PokerStars, and I ended up qualifying through the step system. So I bought into the $82 step, and this was a sit and go. So the top two got you into the next round. And yeah, I bought into the $82 step and got into the 215 and the 630 and the 2,100. And anyway, I'm then in the 2,100 playing for an EPT Dortmund package, and I get heads up with the little Italian guy. Do you remember Dario Minieri?
Oh yes, I do. I know the name.
Yeah, I was heads up with Dario Minieri, and I think I ended up trapping him, and he made a big bluff, and then I called it off, and I was super excited about that one. I managed to get the €5,300 buy-in, and I got the Hilton hotel free and some money for flights. So I told my friend we're off to Dortmund in Germany.
667 runners there were, and you were chip leader with 70 left.
Yeah.
Was you nervous? Was you excited?
It was a crazy experience. Day one, I just sort of was playing pretty tight and didn't wait. I couldn't really get many spots day one. I was finding it quite tough. And then in the last level, I got a big double up with 9s against 4s and bagged a moderate stack for day two. And then day two was just an absolute whirlwind. I sort of, I think I had an interview with PokerStars actually at the start of day two, and then I've got on this table, and I'm just running absolutely berserk, but I'm sort of painting a picture that I'm this really tight kid who's just like satellite in for this really big tournament. Like every time I sort of make a crazy move, I'll show a card that perhaps makes it look like that I had a strong hand or something. And they were all buying into it, and I was just going, I was literally just putting the foot down, and then I'd even find a situation where I'd like flop a set or something in a massive pot, and I remember it was because it was so early on in my poker career, but I just, the amount of physical chips I had in front of me at one point, they had to stop the floor people had to stop it and come up and color them up. So yeah, that was crazy.
Was it true you had aces 3 times in a row?
I think I might have had them twice in a row. Instead, I had them 3 times in a row.
Tell the bloggers anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was really trying to exploit my image because I had a table that I could run over, and I wanted to sort of paint the picture that I was this young kid who'd qualified, who really wasn't really looking to put much pressure on, and then sort of do the opposite, because when my style online at that time was just going absolutely ballistic and trying to run people over. So I felt that the best way to sort of be able to do that was to paint a picture that I was doing the opposite.
15th for 20,000. Annoyed? Happy?
So yeah, the TV cameras came in for day 3 or day 4. I think it was day 3, with 24 left. So that was really strange. I had to sort of like walk up to the camera at the start of the day and hold a card and flash it. And then there's a guy actually I know quite well now called, I think he's called Johan Storicas. He's a Swedish guy, and there's it was €1 million almost for first place, and there's 16 left. But I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was quite enjoying it really. And then I just found a pair of queens, and Johan found a pair of kings, and it was a bit. Maybe a little bit of inexperience, but like the thought of folding never crossed my mind. So it was just one of those things, and just narrowly missed out on the final table. But it certainly gave me a thirst to play more.
Can you remember who won it?
Yeah, it was Sandra Noyox, because she actually knocked me out. So yeah, I do remember.
You'll never forget that one. But 2 weeks later, You got your first Hendon Mob win, and it's still there. The first win at the side of Rich Kellett's name. £200 side event in the GUKPT London.
Oh yeah, it was a £200 rebuy as well, I think. So it was pretty big.
Yeah, they got 26,000 for the win. The final table included James Aikenhead and the late great Dave Colclough. What were it like playing with those kind of guys?
Oh wow, yeah, like that was just amazing for me, because obviously the thing is, when I was sort of 18 and I was really enthused about poker, so I was playing every day online, and
Yeah.
I'd even go in WH Smith's and buy all the magazines, and so like to be in WH Smith reading these magazines, trying to suck up all this information, and see these people in the magazines to go into playing with them at the table the year after was just it was really sort of, yeah, it was mad.
Yeah, and after the GUKPT win in 2009 was such a good year for yourself, because in August you got the biggest online score. You're on FTOPS. Event number 20, 2,438 runners. You got 96,000
Yeah,
and a jersey.
wow, yeah, that was incredible. I was my friend stayed up all night with me. The guy my friend who lived 2 doors down from me, who taught me how to play poker, actually, he stayed up with me all night, and yeah, that one went on till about 7 a.m. and actually, back on Full Tilt, they used to have another really cool feature. Any of their red pros, if you knock them out, you got the buy-in for the tournament back, and you got a T-shirt that said "I knocked out Full Tilt Pro." And with about 3 or 4 tables left, I knocked out Alan Cunningham.
Oh yeah.
Really, really famous American pro at the time. So I knocked him out. I got the $215 back for my tournament entry, and yeah, the Full Tilt T-shirts. I used to have quite a big collection of them, as you can imagine. I imagine Mormons probably got garages somewhere filled with them.
You got a jersey for winning the FTOPS as well. Can you remember what you did with it?
I think I ended up selling it for about $300 or something.
Somebody's walking around and they've not played FTOPS at all, but they've got the jersey.
Yeah, it was like a big, like I was a very, very I was very, very slight build back then. It was a big American gold
That's right,
football thing. Yeah, it didn't look good on me.
But he just carried on. 2009 was fantastic because you run deep in the World Series Poker Europe, which was down in London at the time. In the 1K, finishing 28th out of 608 entries. Yes, it was only for 3,000, but that kind of field down in London must have been a bit exciting.
Funny story about that one, actually. So is that the 1K event that JP Kelly won?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah. So me and JP Kelly were JP Kelly was first in chips overnight going into day 2, and I was second in chips overnight going into day 2. And I think I'd played on the Friday, and day 2 was on the Sunday. That Sunday was the Sunday that Michael Owen scored that goal against Man City. So yeah, but on the Saturday, interestingly enough, I actually had my biggest ever cash game winning session ever. I was playing in the Vic in London, and I ended up buying in for about 5,000. And then, like at the when it got to something like 6 a.m., I was playing Bamboss heads up. If you know Bamboss, he was an absolute legend in the Vic. I absolutely loved him. But if he was on tilt or something, he would just play crazy, and he'd always like to go to the cashier, and he'd say more chips, please, and he'd get a big stack of the 5K chips. So no matter how many chips you have, he'd just come back and plonk 150K on the table. So yeah, I was up to about. I must have been up to about 65,000. So I was winning £60,000 in this cash game, and like that at the time for me was just like absolutely insane. It was like fairy tale stuff, really. And then I ended up and Bambos was straddling every hand for me. So like we were playing heads up, and if I didn't want to put the straddle on, he was like, "Okay, Richard, I put it on for you." So like he was just trying to make pots enormous and things, and I was like, "I'm in for £5,000. Do I really want to play 120,000 pot here?" And it was also it was getting 6:30 a.m. So I had this big day 2 at midday, and then I think Sam Trickett said to me the next day, he said, like, "What have you done? Like, why would you ever leave in that spot? That's the best spot you're ever going to get in a cash game." And I was just like, "Yeah, I had a day 2, and then I was excited for that day 2.
At one point, you sat next to Chris Ferguson.
Yeah, Jesus was on my left.
What's that like, knowing he's won the World Series?
Well, yeah, he's quite an imposing character to be honest. I think I ended up playing one pot with him blind versus blind. See, this is crazy because like I can even like this is probably one of my most mad poker skills. Like I can remember the exact hand that I played against him like 10 years ago. I had ace 10 in the small blind, just one hand, and he had king 9 in the big blind, and I just remember I hadn't played out and I lost that to him, and I thought, yeah, I don't really want to get into another pot against him.
He just wanders around, doesn't he, all nice and quiet, but must be so intimidating at the tables.
Yeah, I felt intimidated in that pot, to be honest. Yeah, and I think I got a little bit of a lesson taught in that one.
Did you play the World Series main event at all in Europe? The one down in London?
I did play that. I'm trying to think. But to be honest with you, that tournament back then, it was an absolute marathon, and like the structure was unbelievable, and I was just sort of one of those kids who was trying to win it on day 1, and my game was not suited to playing that, and I ended up just frittering my chips away, if I remember rightly, in that one. I think I did. I think I got an okay. I think I got like sort of an okay start and middle of the day, but I busted towards the end of day 1. But yeah, I was not pacing myself very well in those sort of events at that time, for sure.
I remember when I was down there doing the interviews and stuff like that. The quite a few of the Americans that came over were saying it's the best assembled field that ever played.
Oh yeah, it was insane. The household names, like obviously I was 19 years old, and I was starstruck because so basically, actually, before I played the main event, I played the 2,500 round of each Omaha and Holden one, and I had Helmuth on one of my tables. I had Barry Greenstein on one of my tables, and I was sat next to Doyle Brunson on one of my tables. So I was just like, wow. And then when I got in the main event, I had a couple of good players on my table. I had Mike the Mouth Mattis out on the feature table behind, and Negrano on the table there. So they were shouting over to each other. And like, if I thought I hadn't seen it all, like towards the end of the day, I looked over at Negrano's table, and Phil Ivey was sat there.
they're just fantastic fields. So every credit for trying to play in one of them events.